I finally caught up on season 5 of Solar Opposite, so let's stop and rank all 5 seasons from the worst to the best. And just to note, I won't be including the holiday specials within this ranking today. Those include the Halloween, Christmas, and Valentine's Day, and I think we're getting a 4th one with Thanksgiving later this year. But kicking things off, coming in at the bottom is unfortunately going to be season 4. This is the first season after the whole Justin Roiland debacle, and so we do have Corvo's voice being replaced with that of Dan Stevens and that brilliant, beautiful British accent for some reason. This is still a fine season for Solar Opposites. It's just not my favorite of all 5 thus far. They do kind of set up this new C-plot, to kind of coincide with the Opposites and the Wall, with now the Silvercop stuff and their neighbor Glenn, and it becomes a little bit too muddied up, especially with that same episode count of 11 episodes. I just don't feel like we get enough Solar Opposites within this season. There's still a bunch of that wacky, zany, cartoonish stuff in here that you love from shows like Solar Opposites and Rick and Morty, and yet at the same time, there's not enough premises in here that really excited me on the first watch or subsequent rewatches. I thought the season premiere was one of its better episodes, the ping pong table, which was just such a simple, silly, stupid premise, but then the next 3 episodes after that, it just felt like the season fell off a cliff right at the start. It still has some absolute bangers like the birthday present or Down and Out on Planet X-Non. But I do think the lack of focus and just less interesting scenarios holds it back compared to the other seasons. But coming in above it at number 4 is going to be Season 2. This is still a pretty nostalgic season for me because it is early Solar Opposites, but like Season 4, I do think it has that little bit of a lack of focus or less appealing scenarios that entice me to continue rewatching this one. It's definitely going to come down to the individual viewer and preferences, but for me, a lot of these are just too stupid to be enjoyable. It feels like they were in the writer's room thinking, what's the craziest thing we could do with these episodes? But they forgot to make them as enjoyable as possible at the same time. Like Season 4, I think it excels with its season pilot, but also kind of shits the bed with its finale. And of course, it does have its absolute bangers, like the dinner party episode, but again, the consistency is just not there. But coming up next at number 3 is going to be Season 3. This is the first season where we started getting 11 episodes. Now, I definitely think this one raised the bar in relation to the previous season, but again, the consistency, it's just still not there for me. Pupa's Big Day, Hulu Land, 99 Ships, and the last 2 episodes of the season, absolute bangers, but the rest are forgettable, filler, or just downright terrible. I just finished rewatching the entire series, all 50-something episodes, and for me, episode 5 of this season, The Gargoyle Ray, was easily the worst of the entire show, my least favorite by far. And so, just squeaking by it, my runner-up is going to be the first season. This one technically does struggle to make a mark as it has 8 episodes compared to seasons 3 through 5's 11, but man, does it make an impression. And I do think there is some of that nostalgia with it being the first season and just being excited for the show to come out, but I really think it hit the nail on the head when it came out. It sets up the world very nicely, all the characters and their personalities and what arcs they might go through in any given episode. It established all the yearly seasonal traditions with, the pilot and the finale, and of course, the big event B-plot episode, with this being the Wall here. Some episode premises are seemingly simple and safe, but then they'll throw in some unique twist on it that really elevates it because, let's face it, gender swap episodes, they've been overdone to death, okay? At the end of the day, the writing, the jokes, the character development, and all those wacky and zany sci-fi elements made for such a solid season, and I was starting to get worried that it wasn't going to get improved upon. But what do you know, Season 5, I think, is the best season so far, and it's not recency bias. Again, I went through all of these episodes one at a time. I almost forgot what season I was in at any given moment, but I'm telling you, Season 5, that's where it's at. The average enjoyment for me for any given episode skyrocketed with this season. Even though there are some that I like less than others, I like them way more than my least favorite episodes of other seasons in the past. I think they greatly improved upon the balance of all the many plot and storylines going on within this show with the Opposites, the Wall, the Yard, and the Silver Cops. But even while I still don't think they've perfected it, I think they might be able to with 13 episodes. I'm just glad that the Solar Opposites episodes themselves were all fantastic. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was starting to get a little bit burned out watching 45 episodes in a row or so, but the middle episode of this one, episode 6, the sci-fi rollerblades or something like that, reinvigorated the show for me. That is probably my favorite episode so far in the series yet. And it's such a stupid episode too. It's just 20 minutes of them being Acme characters from the Looney Tunes. I actually wrote down in my notes, wow, dumbest cold open yet. And then about 2 minutes into the episode, it all clicked like, okay, that's what they were going for. Genius. The wall storyline does shift into this yard storyline, and it does have a lot of the same notes. You know, there's someone trying to do a power grab, and there's people just trying to survive. There's a mission at stake here. It's a lot of the same stuff we've seen before. I did still enjoy it, but what really worked for me was Glenn and the Silver Cops, that continued storyline. Magnifique. There were also a couple episodes, almost too many to be honest, that reinvigorated the series just in general. Like, it kind of changed the rules and changed the game a bit of like who the solar opposites are and how they got here. I won't give any spoilers, but yeah, that was an interesting choice. I'm not sure if I love it, but I definitely don't hate it. There's also been a bunch of different little things that they've alluded to in the show up to this point, but they've never explicitly shown us. And so there are a couple episodes in here that pay those things off. Like, for example, all of Jessie's boyfriends. There's an episode where we get to kind of see all of her ex-boyfriends. And yeah, I just love that aspect of the show. Now, I did watch the entire series back to back to back to back, so there are some blurred lines for seasons for me, so I might be wrong. I think it was season 5. I think it was the newest season. It might have been season 4, maybe even 3, but at some point, Yumulak addresses that the intro to each episode where Corvo goes over the whole background mentions 100 adults and 100 ships, but Yumulak's like, wait, I thought 100 adults would be 50 ships because there's 2 adults per ship, and Corvo's like, no, there's 100 sets of adults, and Yumulak's like, yeah, well, that wasn't clear. I love that, because I've been thinking that since the first episode, so yeah, glad they addressed that, even though it was very late. But anyways, that's just how I would rank these seasons. I would love to see what you guys think down in the comments below. I will meet you guys there. And until next time, I think we're getting Thanksgiving special, so I'll definitely be sure to give you guys my review of that. And maybe we'll throw in the specials as their own little season into the ranking next time. But until then, stay safe, stay weird, not unlike the Academy Award winning Suicide Squad. I like Lightning McQueen.